Okay, we're
Just,
good.
just sit still.
Yeah. All right, you
Okay,
ready?
we're ready.
All right. Well, what's happening, Powell? I am Mark Goodwin, and this is the What's Happening, Powell podcast, where I talk to the movers and the shakers and the persons of interest that are active in the Powell community. And today I'm with Calvin Gebhart. Calvin is with First Citizens National Bank.
Correct.
Thanks for joining me, Calvin.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate the invitation and glad to have the opportunity to share a little bit about the First Citizens National Bank.
Yeah, well, glad to have you. And Calvin, I just full disclosure, I consider you a good friend. We've done a lot of things together in the community, and I'm so glad you would speak with me for a little bit.
It's my pleasure. So it's been an honor. So I'm glad to have you. Yes, we've participated in a lot of different chamber events, and that's how you get to know people, and that's how you get to be more aware of what's going on in the community, and so it's all positive. So anyhow, so it's been good, and glad to have you, and your golf game is constantly picking up. So I wish I could say that about mine, but yours is getting way better. So
I'm not sure that needs to be a topic today, but I appreciate
I got you.
that.
No problem.
So how long have you, I know you've been in the banking industry
Yes,
a long time.
I have. Yes, I have. I've been very fortunate. Mm-hmm. The bank was founded in 1860. So when we're at chamber events, more often than not, I'll provide the three numbers. The number 4, the 164, and then 1,860. And so what I try to do is illustrate the longevity and the strength and the commitment that the bank has had to the state of Ohio as well as to the communities that we serve. So the 1,860 is 1860 is when we were founded, which translates into we've been in business for 164 years. And the real marquee to all that is we're the 4th oldest locally owned, operated, independent community bank in the United States. And so I'm not sure how well that resonates with everybody, but it's a big deal.
It's a track record for sure.
It is. And
that few banks have, right?
In this day and age in banking, to be in business for 164 years is small, very small. So the bank has been very fortunate, good management, good commitment, good customer service. Right. All those variables go into a business that is successful. Sure. And so, but on myself personally, I've been in banking 50 years or more. I started out when I was in college, and I worked part-time. And I was a part-time teller at City National Bank, which became Bank One, right, which became J.P. Morgan Chase.
Right.
So my wife works for J.P. Morgan Chase, but so that's kind of where it all started. That's where I got the bug, and I just fell in love with it, and just have had a very lucky, successful career in banking in the state of Ohio.
Yeah. So in 50 years, you've seen a lot of changes in
just
the industry, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. When you think about that, what are some of the more significant ones when you think, this has really changed our industry in my career?
Well, it's just all the products and services. We have far more greater depth and breadth of the services and the products that we can deliver to the customer. So that part has expanded dramatically. Banking is not quite the same as it was 50 years ago. Everybody kind of had their own lane that they stayed with. At that way back then, the banking industry and the savings and loan industry used to kind of be highly competitive. Savings and loans were allowed to pay a higher rate than what banks were allowed. Savings and loans were restricted on what kind of loans they could make, and banks couldn't do that. So eventually that all merged.
So the savings and loans, when I think of them, I think back to that debacle, was it in the 80s, late 80s?
It was, yeah.
When the savings and loan fiasco happened.
Over 4,000 savings and loans got wiped off the face of the earth.
My goodness.
Yeah, and actually that's where Chase Bank was able to expand their footprint because they really made a huge investment into the Dallas, Texas area. and picked up quite a few banks that were used to be savings and loans. So, yeah, I went through that crisis, and knock on wood, I was president of a bank at that time, and we weathered that storm very well. And but unfortunately, up and down the East Coast, West Coast, an industry got totally wiped out. And kind of scary times. And so we've seen a lot of high interest rates. I went through Paul Volcker interest rates of catastrophic height, and really grounded the economy to a halt, but they had high inflation back then. So the bitter medicine was high interest rates. That really slowed everything down. That brought everything back into perspective, and life went on. A lot of people
we
got
complain
hurt.
about our interest rates right now being a little high, but historically speaking, when you look back to those Volcker times.
Yeah, well, they were, I was making house loans for 21%.
My goodness.
And not very many, but there were a few people out there they could do that, and they did do that, but it really did slow the loan volume down. And so, like you say, today's interest rates, people are kind of thinking they're high. Actually, they're not. My first mortgage, when we got married and we built a house, the rate was 9.5%, and I thought that was great. So,
my first house in '90, I was right around the 9% rate too, which at the time was competitive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and so right now, mortgage rates for 1 to 4 families probably about 6.5, 6 and 7/8, pretty much in that range. It's been staying higher than what the expectation was when the Fed has moved this in 2024 on rate decreases. But so it's all relative. But actually, historically,
but we have short memories, don't we?
Yes, we do. And it just depends on what you think. Coming off of when you had 0 and 1%, that 6 does sound high, but probably the rest of my lifetime, you'll never see those low rates ever again. It's gone. So
you saw the savings and loan, but then you also 2008 in the banking crisis then as well.
Yes. And that was another downturn, and there was a lot of foreclosures, a lot of businesses that incurred tremendous losses, and that was a traumatic one. I can remember watching it on TV, and all the big corporations were just hunkering down and contracting, and I think Ford Motor Company's stock was going for $5 a share at that time, and you're just thinking, why didn't I buy a bunch at the time? So. But we weathered that storm, and that was a big crisis. And those are scary times. So,
but it gives you a perspective when you speak with somebody that's been like, I've been in my industry 30 plus years. You longer than that. But it gives you a perspective that some people just don't have, that does bring a lot of value, in my opinion.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I think that is correct. Because you can foresee the risks that maybe they're willing to take, but you're looking at it, well, if it's got that much risk, then maybe something needs to be tempered or adjusted, or maybe I can't help you because the risks are too great, and I don't want to be involved in a part where maybe it's going to be a burden for you, and it could cause you to have financial difficulties. Don't like to do that. So, we want to be able to add value and be a positive partner for our customers and our community. And by being that, then we have to be accountable and responsible, and maybe we have to deliver news that's not always what you want to hear. It happens, but sometimes that message needs to be delivered, and
and it's the right thing to do during those times, right?
It is. It's just, financial difficulties are very hard on everybody. It's hard on the business. It's hard on their families. It's hard on their workers. It's a challenge for the communities that they're involved in. So, not always a lot comes out of it positive.
Yeah. So, and thinking about that time frame, we've seen a lot of changes, but there's some principles that are static, right? That stay the same, and some things I've noticed in being around you, Calvin, is relationships are really important to you, and you're really good at connecting people as well, and that's something that has a lot of value, and I don't see a lot of people doing that as effectively as I see you doing that. How have you developed that
Well,
skill?
well, I'm not so sure. It's probably evolved over years. I've never quite given that much of a thought to it. I like being a catalyst in the community. I do like bringing people together. I do like to see when we have different events, people are connecting and creating conversations, and maybe something might come out of that that's going to be positive. So, we've done a lot of different programs. I've been with the Powell Bank for 10 years. So we've brought in a lot of different projects and programs that I like to think adds value to the audience.
Yeah.
And that's going to add value to the community. And so,
from where I sit, you certainly do that.
Yeah.
You've invited me to plenty of events that
Yeah.
I really appreciate,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's been valuable. I've made new friends because of that. And
Yeah.
when I talk about you being good at connecting people, that's because I've personally experienced that with you.
Yep.
And
that's
just good for business, and that's good for building a community, and that's good for a community like Powell that I think is where it's easy to do that in Powell, I find.
Yep, it's a good community, a lot of good depth and breadth, and I think everybody does try to help and work together. And so I think there's a good relationship with all the businesses that are supporting their business as well as the other ones in the community. So I think that's all positive. So I think we're all working towards adding value, which means that we're all going to benefit from that. So.
And in your 10 years in Powell, we've changed in Powell. Powell is growing, right? The business community is expanding. And what are some things that come to mind when you think about the last 10 years and what it's been like?
Well, I just think the chamber has grown so dramatically.
Yeah, it has.
When I first came here, I served 2 years. I served somebody's term that they left early, and so I was appointed, and I filled that part out. And
on the chamber board.
On the chamber board, and it was okay, but I mean it was a small chamber, and the dynamics of it has changed, and so through and I really kind of think more so with Pam. With her leadership, knowing how to operate and orchestrate a chamber has been very positive for all the businesses and all the members, and also for the community. So she has brought a lot of leadership, accountability, responsibility, and integrity to what a chamber can do for you. Kind of like the old adage, you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah,
and so
right.
Pam keeps us all involved. So sometimes when I look at my calendar, it's a chamber event, it's a chamber event.
I know.
And it's a chamber event.
It can be.
And you sit there and say, I can't do them all, but I got a new assistant now, Randy Decker, and so I'm looking forward to her having the opportunity to get involved and spread some of that job responsibility out. Plus, then she's got a great personality and a good working knowledge, and so I'm confident that she'll be able to probably do way more than what I've been able to do. So I'm looking forward to that.
And I think you've been very active in the chamber, but you do more than just the chamber in the community.
No,
You've got the Friends of the Library.
I am, yep, I'm on that board. Yeah. And Karen Cowan got me involved in that when the new Liberty Township Library was being built, and George, I can't think of George's last name, but he was the director for the Delaware Library. And so we were looking at ways to raise money for the Maker Studio that they put in there, because the library didn't have funds for that. And that's a little business center that's down in the basement. And so it was kind of like a big learning curve for me on what is the business center doing at the library. So anyhow, Karen got me involved in that. We had a fundraiser for that. We raised enough money to fully equip the business center, and so that was positive. So they kept me for another 3 years. So it's good. I mean, the library does so much. I mean, it's just way more than what you think, and all the programs and all the outreach that they have in the community, and the programs that they bring in, and the support they provide for the young kids to help them learn to read and appreciate books and help increase their knowledge and awareness. So it's really very positive. So,
Yeah, they've got a good thing going on there.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
And you do more than that too. What else are you involved in?
Well, I kind of got caught up with what they call the Fallen 15 in Jerome Township, which is over in Plain City. And what the Fallen 15 does is it recognizes a fallen veteran that has passed away, and it supports the families. And so they pick 15 new families every year and provide funding and funding for those families and to help them out in different support areas. So we did a car show. So one of the board members thought that I knew more than what I thought I knew, so, which I kind of questioned that, but I said I'd be glad to try to help out. So anyhow, we did that, and so we had our first year, and it's like anything, our first car show, and we held it over there off Industrial Parkway on the Estate Street, and so we had a good turnout. We made money. This year's going to be better, so we got our second one coming up, and we are a lot more knowledgeable on how to run it more effectively and more efficiently, and so it should hopefully have a positive response. So,
and that's the Fallen 15.
That's the Fallen 15.
So where can somebody learn a little more about the Fallen 15?
Well, of course, you can go to their website, but it is for veterans, and it is recognized by the state of Ohio, and one of our committee members is the executive director for the Fallen 15. So anyhow, it's a great program. So it just provides, as I say, cash funding for surviving families.
Nice.
And so they go through a process of picking the families. I'm not involved in that part of it. So.
But you're a veteran yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I did. I did 26 years. I did in the Navy and a hospital corpsman, which is, for the rest of the world, they don't always know what a corpsman is, but that's a medic. And so I did 26 years. So yeah, it was good duty. Classically, I was in the Vietnam era, and so my senior year in college, that's when they had the first lottery. That one I won.
You won that lottery.
I won. All the other lotteries, I've not even come close with the
others have all been a waste of money, right?
It has been, yeah. But that one I won. So at the time I was working for City National, which was J.P. Morgan Chase at the time. Married, had a kid, and I had 6 months to make a decision.
Yeah.
And so I looked at the Army, I looked at the Air Force, and the Navy, and the Marine Corps. I thought the Navy had the best program. So it really gave me the ability to get in and get out real quick and then leverage off of my college education. I just forgot to get out.
Well, 26 years, yeah.
Well, it was a reserve program,
nice,
so
yeah.
it was, I worked my civilian job and I did that, but I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I liked helping people in their medical situation, and so that was all positive. So yeah.
I did 10 years in the reserve as well, and it's a good experience, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Sometimes I wish everybody would get to go through that.
You hear that from time to time, and I as you look back, I think for the young folks, I think that would be positive. I think they would get something out of it to spend 2 or 3 years and then go on with their life and their career, or stay in it, whatever they want to do. But they have a way of getting things done. Now, that you don't always agree with the way they want to do it, but it does get done. And so the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marine Corps, they get the job done.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Agreed. Well,
Yep, gives you time to mature and be accountable and be responsible, and
you learn to take orders.
You learn,
and you learn to stand in line. You learn to do what you're told to do when you're told to do it. Right?
So true. That's right. Yeah, whether you like it or not.
You like it or not.
That's right. Absolutely.
But you know what? That ends up applying in life in a lot of ways going forward that you don't really realize it at the time.
Nope.
Or at least I know that's how I felt. A lot of times I thought, really, this is just getting to be a pain in the butt. But actually, it has long-term value that you don't realize that right away.
Yep, I agree with you. Absolutely. Yep.
So what's coming next for the bank in Powell? When you look ahead to, we're starting 2025.
Well, we have a new product that we're going to be rolling out, and they're going to do all the marketing and all that. It's called those interactive teller machines. They call them ITMs. So they're really stationed in the drive-through where you have a live person on a screen that you're dealing with.
Oh, really?
Yep. And so they can do all the transactions that you want to do. And it's going to be headquartered up in the main office in Upper Sandusky. And so.
And is that where the live person, if I pull up and I do a transaction,
it'll come right up there.
Where
the
person will sit?
Yep. Hi, how are you? They'll have all the information and answer any and all questions that you have. It should give each location a lot more expanded hours to take care of the customer if they so desire. Sometimes, and I'm not sure exactly what the hours are going to be, but some of the locations we've seen 7 to 7. So it does expand and broaden that out. So it should be very interesting. They're going through a lot of training and staffing and all that. I think the customers are going to like it. It'll be a learning curve like anything.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, banking has gone through so many evolutions of products and services over the time. We got ATMs and we got telephone banking, we got online banking, we got mobile banking, and you can do everything from your cell phone. So,
yeah.
And it all works. And every once in a while I tell my customers, I said, you can do all this banking and you don't ever need to show up in the lobby. I would rather every once in a while have them come back in.
It's nice to see somebody once in a while, isn't it?
Just to say hi. But I mean, the transaction volume for live transactions in the lobby is it's declining, and it's understandable. I mean, I use my mobile banking phone for everything. I make deposits and I transfer money and I mean, it's neat, it's slick. I had a customer in there the other day, and I'm not real techie, but I was helping him get his phone set up so he could do his mobile banking, and so we got up to a point, and then he forgot his password, so he had to go home. But he texted me later on the phone that says, "I got it. I'm in. I made my first deposit electronically with my mobile banking and the camera." So. I mean, it's just neat stuff. So anyhow, the integrated teller machine is, they call them ITMs, and they've been out. So they're in other markets. This is, we're not the leading edge on this, but it is an extension of our ability to provide quality service to the customer. Yep.
And anything else?
No, just, banking is going to be interesting in 2025. The Fed's had a couple rate decreases, and I'm not so sure how positive all that will be in 2025.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues out there with Congress and the Senate, and they got a lot of issues that they need to address. And so I think that's kind of why you haven't seen interest rates go down as much as you have. So we have a lot of debt. And so for a banker, that's always a concern because it kind of, Uncle Sam comes first in the marketplace.
Right.
And so he crowds everybody else out. So anyhow, it'll be interesting to see 2025. I'm glad the election's over. It'll be interesting to see how the new administration does. I'm hopeful that it'll all be positive. Not 100% sure of that, but I'm hopeful that it'll be positive and move forward. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the world that comes back to us, and we're leaders in the world.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need to demonstrate that more so than what we sometimes do. But
agreed.
Yep.
Well, what else would you like people to know about the bank and what they can expect when they come in to pay you a visit at First Citizens?
Well, thank you. Well, I'd like to first have them come in. And as I say, we work for them. We're there to provide the customer service. We're there to give them the right answer. Don't always have it right at the fingertips for the right answer, but if not, we work on getting that corrected and making sure we can provide you with the right answer. But we want to become that advocate for you, and we work towards helping add value to that individual or to that business. So that's what our goal is, to try to see if we can't make money work better for them and more positively, and see if we can't provide a better return for them.
Right.
So it's just adding value. As I say, when you walk in, you're really going to get a live person. We're there. So, I got a good staff and lucky to have a good staff.
Well, your bank is a very friendly place.
Well, thank you.
You walk in and you can tell that right away. Somebody speaks to you instantly, and it's a friendly place. You feel good going in there.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we work at
and that trickles down. I mean, I know that's important to you, and you've imparted that to the staff there,
Right.
and it has clearly happened.
Yeah. I had a young man that's a senior at Ohio State, and he works part-time. And so I think an interesting antidote to that would be, and his parents always dealt with the big bank. So now he's worked at a small bank in a sense. We're $350 million, so I don't think that's small, but it's small in the world. But anyhow, he says, what I've noticed more so between where my dad banks at and where I work at, the personal service.
Yeah.
And it's a personal touch, and that's what we strive to do. So, as I say, you really truly get us to help you. For better or worse, you get us to be able to do that transaction, and we try to make sure we get it done correctly and efficiently, and make sure that you're happy on the way out, and the transaction went the way you wanted it. So I love to believe that we're always on the loan side the lowest rate, and I like to believe we're always the highest rate on the deposit side. Just doesn't always work out that way. So we try to be fair and try to price it correctly to everybody on both sides of that balance sheet. But you always can't be the highest, and you always can't be the lowest. So it's just part of the marketplace. So a lot of competition in Powell, which is, for Powell, that's good. I think every bank known to mankind is in Powell. So there's a plethora of choices. I just like to think that we're on that list for when you're considering that. And if we can do anything, just please reach out. I'd love to have the opportunity to talk.
Yeah. Well, Calvin, I think I'm pretty active in the community. And when I think about the banks, I would have to say you guys are certainly on the short list of the ones that give you that personal attention, give you that type of feel that they care about me. They're going to look out for me when I bank there.
Yep.
And I know that that's the opinion of many in our community, and really appreciate all you do for Powell, all the activities you're involved in, the way you introduce people to each other, and you are one of the people that I think helps make the Powell community a stronger and better place.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. As I say, we want to pay back, and we want to pay forward, and we want to make a difference. So. It's just one day at a time, and one customer at a time. So, okay.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go,
a
couple personal interest questions, just for my own curiosity. Is there any particular TV series that you guys like to binge watch right now?
Well, I like to watch Channel 83, which they do car renovations.
Oh, okay.
So they modify them, and then they kind of either totally restore them or they modify them. My wife does not get excited about that because I keep saying, we ought to buy this one or we ought to buy that one. And I already have two, so.
That's right, you are a bit of a car guy. You got that nice van and the Mustang. Those are nice cars.
Thank you. And if I had more garage space and more money, I'd probably have a couple more cars. But anyhow, so I kind of like watching the car renovations. I like the home remodeling on Channel 45. The serious part would probably News Nation with Chris Como.
Okay.
I like the style. I like the transparency where he gets both sides of the story. Every once in a while he has his own personal input, but I find that much more constructive and much more informative and much more productive newscast.
Gotcha.
So I like that. So I watch the Golf Channel every once in a while just to see if I can hone my skill. It's elusive, but I've been trying to work on my golf game. So, yeah.
What about any particular book that comes to mind? You feel like this one has been real influential.
I try to read as many as I can. I get 6, 7 books a year maybe, and it should be more. But I got to find it. What did I do with it? Here they are. One was on Ulysses S. Grant and then John Rockefeller. And John Rockefeller's book was called The Titans. And Ulysses S. Grant's book was called Grant. And that was done by that Ron Chernow.
Okay.
And just tremendous detail and tremendous insight into what type people they were and what kind of conditions and circumstances that they dealt with throughout their life. And so, kind of growing up, you thought, well, Ohio and Exxon and all that was kind of not necessarily the most positive, but John Rockefeller actually, when you get into that, really has provided phenomenal amount of bequeaths to institutions that serve the public's best interest. And I don't think probably over time he's gotten enough credit for that. So, like the University of Chicago and other medical facilities in New York City. You just kind of think the big conglomerate and the riches, and he's taken it all. And he really did pay back. So I was impressed with that. And Ulysses S. Grant, Ohio tries to own him.
Right.
So,
we do.
Yeah, so
name a lot of schools after him.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So just a terrible time for the country, though. I mean, Civil War. I mean, goodness sakes alive. I just can't imagine.
Yeah.
And I mean, Navy corpsman. A corpsman actually goes into combat with Marines, so it's not exactly a safe job. And my mom was excited because I went in the Navy and she thought I'd be safe. So I never told her I was a corpsman. So, and half my career was spent with the Marines, and they're good guys, but I mean they're always in a fight. So, so you're out there with doing that kind of stuff. So, but war is it's tough. It's just it's hard. So I'm glad that. We're a leader in the world. I think sometimes we should be a little stronger than what we are and take care of some of these bad folks out there and make a better world out of it. But so anyhow, Ulysses S. Grant and the Civil War. So just amazing what he did.
Nice.
So.
And last question. I'm a little bit of a music guy. So tell me about your music preferences.
Well, I'm not a real good guy at that one. So I guess, I'm a child of the 60s, so I enjoy rock and roll.
A lot of good 60s music.
Yeah.
A lot of great 60s bands.
I get into the 70s. I don't know if I per se ever had a favorite. I kind of liked the ones I liked. I liked the Beatles, but who didn't like the Beatles? And, I was a freshman in high school, I think, when they finally came over on the Ed Sullivan show, so update myself. So it was, I always enjoyed their music, but as I say, the 60s, I kind of liked all that. That was a good time, good time to grow up, I think, and kind of different than what today's world is a little bit,
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, that was the last of my personal questions. You're off the hook, my friend.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I would say to your audience, support the Powell Chamber. It's vitally important and critically the best interest of the community to have you actively involved in paying back and paying forward to the chamber, which makes a stronger community. So, Old and Tangy Liberty won the boys football state championship.
Yes, they did.
And last year, I think it was the hockey team, or the 2 years ago, the hockey team got state championships. So we like to support the schools as best we can. So I've done baseball, hockey. I haven't done the football. I've done a lot of the girls' softball and basketball, so it's always good to help those young ladies out and the young men too on the sports programs. So hopefully it builds good character.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Calvin, for sitting down with me for a little bit. I always enjoy talking with you, my friend.
My pleasure. Thank you, Mark.